Hi, this is Tony Tolado, and this is Sci-Fi Talk, the podcast on how sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and comics help us explore our own humanity. Every year, sooner or later, we either tune in or stumble upon the Yule log playing endless holiday music. Casper Kelly wrote and directed Yule Log, a holiday horror fest filled with familiar tropes and lots of blood. We chat with him in a moment. Really, my first question has got to be, it's not, usually everybody asks, how did this all come together? To me, what really came together was mixing all these different things in this gumbo of a movie and how did these ideas where did they come from a little bit? I mean, oh my God, you had every kind of cliche in there you could, and we loved you for it because it was great.
Well, that's a great question. I think it was a number of factors. One is I've wanted to make a movie for so long, and then I get this chance. So I have too many ideas for one movie, but screw it. Why don't I just put them all in one movie? So yeah, like rather than having to pick one lane, I just said, why not do 3 movies at the same time in one movie? Was part of it. And I think also Too Many Cooks was one of the most successful things I've done. I love doing it. So it felt right to try to use some of that aspect of mixing things, layering things in the movie as well.
They say Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I agree. And I think even though this was originally called The Fireplace, I think Yule Log, this is the Yule Log movie that everybody should see this time of year. I really thought it was perfect for that.
Excellent. Can we put that on the poster now, Tony?
Yeah, that'd be great. You're also, from a technical standpoint, you're filming in pretty much a small place, or at least it looked that way. How did that work out logistically? Like you're shooting different vignettes in different places. So how did that actually work out for you?
Yeah, it is a good question. We shot it in Decatur, Georgia, which is a town next to Atlanta, where I live. And we were lucky that I imagined it shooting it in like the Blue Ridge Mountains, where a lot of people in Atlanta will go vacation. But we didn't have the budget. We would have to put up an entire crew in the mountains in various cabins, and we just didn't have the money for that. So we were lucky to find a house that looked like a mountain cabin right here in the city. And I've already forgotten the rest of your question, which was
logistically how.
Yes. And the thing that happened that was real lucky was we looked at another house 2 doors down that we were also considering for a location. And what the producers at Media Team decided to do was they rented the other house as well for everything else: makeup, wardrobe, actors waiting, everything else. And that was a lifesaver, because to have trailers or something would have been miserable, So we rented a house 2 doors down so that was a lot of the logistics.
Oh, that's cool. As far as their special effects in this, how did that work out? It's hard to determine. Looks like a lot of it was practical, though.
Yes, it was a combination of practical effects led by this person, Shane Morton, who of Silver Scream Effects, who I've worked with a long time. He did the Cheddar Goblin in Mandy. He worked on a show with me, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. And he just loves to do things with blood and monster faces and costumes. And then the other component of that was the digital side, which was Derek King and Ben Martin. And Derek, I also work with on Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, because it's a show set in hell. So there's digital fire and so forth. So it was sort of an outgrowth of that. And it was a little more than they all expected to have to do. It ended up being a lot more effects than we thought. So there was a lot of late nights for all of us.
Casting wise, how did you find all these folks? I mean, they were all good in what they did in the roles that they played, and got so many wonderful cliches in this.
I appreciate that. Well, I did the show, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, and we would have money to fly in actors from out of town, But sometimes for a smaller role, like a day player, like a waiter or something, we would cast local. And I worked with this casting agency, Big Picture. We ended up liking some of those people so much that we would just cast local people for bigger and bigger roles. So when it came time to do this, which is an indie movie and an indie budget, I just felt like there's such a great pool of actors here. Furthermore, we shoot so many movies in Georgia now because of the tax credit, like Ant-Man and so forth. There's just a deep bench of wonderful actors here. But I'm glad you liked them. I thought they were great too.
Yeah. From a technical standpoint, I love that, we're so used to seeing the Yule log every year. That's how you start the movie. And then you kind of build from there. And then you realize, oh, this is not a regular Yule log. But what I think is really cool, since I'm kind of a sound guy, is all these sound effects kind of come in initially to kind of tell you something's going to happen. Talk about that aspect of it and kind of starting there and then kind of pulling out and showing a heck of a lot more.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I did a test of it where I just literally shot my own fireplace and someone walking in front and added some sound just to see if it would work. We liked it because it made you curious. The fact that you couldn't see it and you could hear it gave this amazing tension of wanting to know what's happening. So, and then also I've worked on, we're kind of in a renaissance now of radio plays and telling stories through sound. And I'm not talking like narrating a story, but it is just something's unfolding and you can infer what's happening through sound. I've done these 3 stories for this podcast called The Truth, which they do it's an anthology show like Black Mirror, but audio, and they do great work. So I guess I was inspired by that. Yeah, I'm glad you liked that.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
In fact, the original idea was to do the whole movie that on a tight shot of the fireplace, but I decided that's too long.
Yeah. Well, it worked the way you used the camera. I really appreciated that. More on the Yule log with Casper Kelly in a moment. Let's get back to this holiday horror treat. It's funny, but you mentioned anthology. I kind of thought like this is anthology meets an independent film, and this is what you get. It's like so many stories, and the Yule log is what brings them all together, which I thought was cool. But logistically, when you're shooting this, you probably don't shoot it in order, so you got to make sure everybody is where everybody's supposed to be. Not an easy task, I would think.
No, in fact, there's a lot of. In fact, we forgot. I can't believe I'm telling you this, but there's a whole section where they're talking on the couch where we forgot to put the camera behind the couch, and we had to digitally add it for some of it. It's there really in some scenes, but in other scenes we had to add it digitally. And I was really nervous, but it looked really good. You couldn't tell. So yeah. But yes, it was. But luckily we had a wonderful crew, and yes.
What about? There's something about using horror during the Christmas season that's becoming very popular again. It was always there, but it's really kind of. There's a few more movies this year than there were last year about that. Speak of that aspect of it.
It's a good question. I haven't really thought about it. And also, I don't think it's coming from a place of people not liking Christmas. I think, I love Christmas sincerely, and I like Elf, and I like Christmas music. I love all that. But I think, here's my theory out of nowhere, is we're now in peak TV, so everyone is getting more and more exposed to more and more television and movies. So I think audiences are getting more into new flavor combinations, like horror and Christmas, that their taste is going that way just to liven things up. Like how in culinary terms, you might want to add wasabi to mashed potatoes or something, just to add something, something like that. That's my theory. Maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I always ask this of films that use quite a bit of blood. Was this at least a gallon or more than that?
Oh, I'm sure more than a gallon. Yes, and a variety of colors, which was fun to do as well.
One of my favorite segments was the little guy in the fireplace. I thought that was really, really wild.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
One of those things in the movie where it comes out of nowhere, and there it is. So that was wild. And obviously, there's some special effects involved with that, and the use of the elevator was really interesting too.
Yes, and the elevator was partly my daughter's idea. She gave me the idea of a elevator with a fireplace in it that would go to other fireplaces, which is a huge idea. I immediately said, yes, I'm taking that right now. That's a great idea.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So this is going to be on Adult Swim. So that's a good partnership because everything they do always kind of winks at the audience a little bit and has fun with the audience. So this one certainly fits that mold. What's it like
good.
to partner up with them?
Well, it's heaven. It's heaven, Tony. I've been working with them a long time. It's I will work with them as long as I can. I because I'm a fan of the other work they do. I just think they do I love what they do. So it's been a dream, and they're my friends now. So yes, it's great. And I work for other companies too, but yes. Adult Swim is sort of like my family at home, sort of.
Did you work on the short treks for Star Trek?
I did.
I really love those, by the way. Those were fantastic.
Thank you.
There was no series going on at the time, so it was like a perfect bridge to when they premiered. Oh, amazing. Spock's first day. We obviously never seen that before. So that was really cool. And the one where Aldous Hodge is on the Enterprise by himself, I thought that was really, really cool. Talk about that experience. What was that like for you?
It was great. Alex Kurtzman reached out because of who kind of oversees that property.
Yeah.
Very kindly he saw Cheddar Goblin in Mandy, the movie Mandy, and was inspired and asked me to do a Tribbles commercial for the origin story of Tribbles with John Benjamin. And we've become very friendly since and have been talking about doing another Star Trek thing together. But yeah, they're great. And I agree with those shorts just allow you to explore different things, and they're wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Mandy, was that I believe that the Legion M was partly responsible for that?
Yes.
Too?
Yes.
Yeah, that was. I remember being at Comic-Con and seeing the posters for all the movies, and nice big one there for Mandy with Mr. Cage, right?
Yes, Mr. Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. That's a wild concept too. That was a cool.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't get to see that movie until it was done. I do a small part of it. And yeah, I love that movie so much. Even if I wasn't involved, I'd be a super fan of that movie and everything Panos Cosmatos does.
What's up for you next?
I'm writing another movie because I've got the bug now, and I have a couple of TV pilots that I'm working on. So knock on wood, you'll see a few things from me next year.
Okay. All right. Well, happy holidays, and I'll never see the Yule log the same way again.
There's another blurb.
The Yule log will run on Adult Swim. Check it out. Try it out on a holiday gathering. Happy holidays. This is Tony Tillotto.